So the second part of today's lesson has to do with subtraction of signed numbers. Believe it or not, most of the work is done already. We already know how to add signed numbers. That means that we just have to do one more step if we see a subtraction sign. What I want you to think back to in your brain pans is a little phrase that you may have learned in middle school or used in high school called keep, change, or keep, change, flip. Okay? And keep, change indicates the steps that you want to take as soon as you see a subtraction sign. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at what this means, like a little reminder about what keep, change means, and then how to put it into practice, and then you'll be ready to do your subtraction problems. The first thing we need to recognize is that in any subtraction, you always keep the first term or the term to the left. Okay, that means you rewrite the first term. Or if it's in a string of numbers, it would be the term to the left of the subtraction sign. At the beginning of the problem. Then what you want to do is you want to change the subtraction sign to an addition sign. And the reason why you want to do that is because we don't really want to subtract. We already know how to add sign numbers. So if we can get it into addition, we're all good to go and we're ready to solve the problem like we know how. The key and most important part is this last change piece. And what this last change piece is, and this is what some kids forget, is that you have to change the term to the right to the opposite sign. So if it was a negative, you change it to a positive. If it was a positive, you change it to a negative. Then it morphs into an addition problem and you're ready to rock and roll. Let's take a look at some examples. For our first example, I'm just going to do a basic 5 minus 6. Okay, now this is a subtraction. And what we want to do is we want to train our brains because we're never going to get a 5 minus 6. We're going to get things with variables. We're going to get things with parentheses. We're going to get things that are a lot more complicated. What I need you to do is to focus on the fact that this is a subtraction sign, and we are going to use the keep, change method. That's going to help us carry through when we get into more complicated things. So this means that if I'm going to rewrite this, I'm going to keep the 5. I'm going to change this to a plus sign, and this is a 6. So when I change this minus sign to a plus sign, this becomes just a 6, and over here, I'm going to take the opposite sign. This would become negative 6. Now we're at war, and at war, remember that the bigger one wins, so you're going to end up with a negative, and 5 take away from the 6 becomes a 1. So this would end up being negative 1 as your final answer. An extra example or another example, if I have negative 15 minus 2. If I have negative 15 minus 2, I'm going to use keep, change. I'm going to keep the negative 15. I'm going to change that minus sign to a plus sign. And I'm going to change this 2 to a negative 2. Now let's take a look at what we have. I've got a negative 15 and a negative 2. They're on the same team. So that means that I'm going to add them and keep the negative. 15 soldiers and 2 more soldiers on the same team make 17 soldiers in the negative camp. and we're done. Similarly, if I have something like this, and this is where a lot of kids get confused, if I have like 9 minus negative 12, I'm going to keep the 9. Oh, this looks blurry. Hold on a minute. I'm going to keep the 9. I'm going to change this minus sign to a plus sign. And I'm going to change this negative 12 to a real, normal, regular positive 12. So I have a positive plus a positive, and that, my friends, is the easiest math problem you can have. 21, positive. If you have any other questions, feel free to rewatch the video or contact me.